Beadle's here. We're ready to rock and roll with Michelle. Can we bring her in?
What's up?
Yo, Michelle, what is happening?
I have like this new camera with a remote, so I'm like, okay, let me zoom out a little bit. Yeah.
Yo, that looks really good.
It's really fancy. I'm not used to it, but it's cool.
Is that where we do like, so when we're doing Run It Back, like, and you're not in the studio, that's
Correct.
The setup.
Yeah. So I'm still in LA. Like in San Antonio, I have it set up, but I don't think my camera there is this nice. I'm like, this is a way cooler camera. They just set it up with lights and everything. So I'm like, oh, okay. I don't hate it.
So when you go to San Antonio, do you stay with family there or do you stay?
No, I bought a house there during COVID. So okay. I just, I know a COVID home buyer. It's shocking. It's so weird. But yes, I did that. And I keep it because honestly, it's kind of nice to have like somewhere in the world you can just always go to. I dig that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And back home, back to your roots.
Exactly. I get my breakfast tacos on. I get my routine. It's nice.
Well, we're in Texas here, and of course we miss you. It's your fourth season on Run It Back, by the way. On FanDuel. And that's a show, by the way. You could tell, the chemistry is so right there. And you guys, it's a fun watch. The more and more you see Boogie Cousins on there, it's like you feel like it's a kind of like a family reunion almost. You really do.
I really appreciate that. As you know, like doing this little dumb industry that we've chosen, chemistry is the hardest part if it's not there. So when it is, I don't take that for granted. But Chandler is legitimately like the moronic brother. I have a brother, but he's not even as bad as Chandler. And Lou, I have grown to just love. My dad loves him. Like he's great. Boogie's such a cool addition because he's polarizing. Like it's weird. People either hate him or love him. And he's admitted it. He's got one of those faces where if you don't know him, you're like, oh, why are you so mad? He's not mad. He's just got that face. That's kind of awesome.
What do you guys collectively feel like? I guess I'm talking to you, so I'll ask you, what's the biggest story in the NBA this year? The most compelling story for you?
God, I hate to sound like such a homer, but the Wemby thing is big, right? I mean, they lost a game, so it took a little bit of that shine off. Things will even out, I suppose. But Wemby's a big story. Injuries, unfortunately, have started off kind of a weird stretch here at the top of the season. I think Luka's revenge tour, which I personally think will never end. That kind of a breakup is you just don't ever forget. So I think that will always be something fun to watch. It's Philly. I think Philly's a cool story because they're doing it with or without Joel. And I think that's something to keep your eye on. I mean, who doesn't love Tyrese Maxey? And I love a good quote unquote out of nowhere rookie story. I don't think he's out of nowhere in VJ Edgecombe. I just think so much attention was placed on Cooper Flagg that we completely forgot to look at anybody else. So that to me is, I like that story as well.
You're connected with people in San Antonio. How do they feel about like Wemby? Do they feel like a contender right now?
So my new goal in life, I did not realize that, sometimes when you live in a bubble like we do down in San Antonio, you assume that the whole world knew that after the 2014 season and another banner, that the race for Sace was an immediate, like we're all in, right? Like we know down in San Antonio, like hashtag race for Sace has been a decade old. I did not realize the rest of the world was not up to date on that. So every time I bring it up, they're like, what are you talking about? It's legitimate down there. And I think for first time, long time, Spurs fans are stoked again. And look, they don't go away. I mean, as a fan of that team, you don't really go away, but it's been a pretty long drought, at least by championship team standards. So yes, you see it in the crowd, getting there early. You see it in the jerseys. I'll tell you where I really see it is when they go on the road. There are quite a few Spurs fans in every arena right now, and that has not been the case for a minute. So that to me is a pretty telltale sign.
What's the one skill for Wemby, if you could add to his game right now, that you think he needs to kind of take himself to the next level?
I think the hardest thing for him, being that sort of a physical presence, is going to be to put on more and more muscle. I know he did. I know he's gotten stronger. We all are aware of sort of his off-season antics and everything he did and just how serious and intense it got. But he's going to have to figure out a way. Look, no one's going to be Giannis. That dude's been like chiseled out of marble. But the idea that you can put some of that kind of strength and muscle on, that you can bully people, man, if he could get that down, it's unstoppable.
Where are you guys at? Like when you build your show out, right?
Yeah.
Like you know that like a LeBron topic is probably going to move the needle. But like right now, the dude's never irrelevant. but he's not playing. He's got back issues because as I'm learning,
Hello.
old people have back issues.
It hurts.
Like that's what sciatica means. It means your back hurts. You know,
You're
my
old.
mom
Yep.
struggles with sciatica all the time. So do I. But like, what do you think is next for LeBron? Like, legitimately, like, is this his last season? Will next year be his last year? What does the future hold? Where does he retire? Like, any of your top of the mind thoughts on this?
God, I don't think this is his last. I think if we've learned anything about LeBron, like he really, and I'm not even trying to be snarky about this, but like the dude craves the attention, right? Like I don't think that he's going to Tim Duncan his way at the end of a season and just go off quietly into the sunset. No chance, no way. So we will know when his last season is upon us. There will be announcements, but I do think this will be interesting when he returns. I don't know that we've ever even had the opportunity to have the old generic conversation of how does so-and-so fit in when he comes back into the game. We've never had that discussion about LeBron James. He's always been there. So all of a sudden we're having that, like, okay, well, when he comes back, is Austin Reeves now the number 3? That's a crazy conversation that's actually being had right now. So look, it's LeBron James, and it's not like last season were throwaway numbers. He was very much a very relevant part of that league and producing. So I think it'll be exciting when he comes back. When he comes back, though, I don't really know. As you know, as we all know who've suffered any kind of back issues, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Someday you think you feel great, you wake up tomorrow, you can't move. Like it's a tough thing when your body starts to do that. But I think what they're putting on the floor now, look, they won a game last night. Granted, it wasn't a big game, but all 3 guys, Austin Reeves, Luka, LeBron, nobody played, and they still won. I think having Luka on that team puts them in a pretty good position that when he does return, they're very much going to be in the hunt in what is a almost impossible Western Conference situation. So it's crazy that we're still having this conversation 21 years in. But
Michelle, what does that look like when LeBron comes back and he has to fit in? You know, that's going to be interesting because the dude's got a huge ego. Yeah. And I'll be so interested to see, can he just kind of mold right in there so we've got a team environment so he's putting the team first and not himself? It's going to be super interesting.
It's going to be. I think it will. Look, I don't like to watch Lakers game necessarily. Like if I can choose other ones, but you have to. I mean, you really, if you're going to do this for a living, you got to. I think Austin Reeves will naturally defer and sort of take a backseat. You know, you got guys like Jake LaRavia, who none of us knew. I think Anthony Edwards was totally in line and asking who the heck is that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think it's Luka's team first and foremost. And we saw a little bit of that play out last season. I think it's going to be fine. I think LeBron is a pretty great team player. And I think he wants another ring. I mean, that at the end of the day is sort of the whole point of all this. And I think he realizes that as well. The ego thing will be interesting. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because it's championship or bust, right? It's Los Angeles. It's the Lakers. They made possibly one of the biggest trades in sports history in the middle of the night. No big deal. And that was the whole point of it. So I think he's going to be fine. He's a pro. He's a pro's pro. Pains me to say it, Pete, but he's a pro's pro.
Well, honestly, you're a pro's pro, one of the best to legit ever do it when the light goes on. For real, when you wake up in the morning though, and you see that news about Chauncey and the gambling, and like, yeah, because I know like you're connected with him. I don't know how tight you guys are, but I know he's a great dude. Yep. Like when you see that, what's your first impression knowing that you are part of this fabric that makes up the NBA and covers the league?
You know, I think all of us were a bit shocked. I had the pleasure of working with Chauncey for 3 awesome years, and Paul Pierce and Jalen Rose, and it was fantastic. I know Chauncey to be a good dude, and I think what bothered me the most, they did what they did. So whatever that ends up being, it's going to hash itself out. I think when you sort of got into the weeds of actually reading a lot of the actual words in these indictments, especially in Chauncey's case, it was and I'm not trying to make excuses, but it was such a minimal amount in comparison to the $7.5 million that was being discussed. And the idea that they got perp walked and nobody else did, that didn't sit well with me. It's never going to sit well with me. I have my inclinations on why some of these shows are so much more bright when they when the government wants to put on a show, they have an interesting way of doing some things. And so this was one of those. I hated it. There were 34 dudes arrested, and we saw 3. So I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of weird. I'll be curious to see how it plays out. But it's derailed, it's derailed everyone's lives. Lessons will have to be learned for hopefully future humans moving forward. But yeah, I don't like anything. I don't like anything about how any of it went down. And I'm disappointed in Chauncey and being in that position in the first place, but more so how it was handled.
And it's super weird for us. Like I was at our like ESPN seminar for college basketball, and we're asking all the questions. And I said, hey, where are we at with, and I asked it much nicer than that, but I was like, hey, but where are we with point spreads as far as like talking about games, like, on a network like that, like if it's a 25-point spread, I'm going to say heavy favorite, but like, are we moving in a direction where we're just going to start saying the number? It's so interesting. And what do you think about that, covering this sport? Like, you're on FanDuel, you're on a bunch of other stuff, but like, obviously, like, and we have gambling promotions here, but like, where is the right relationship for that stuff?
See, that's the thing, right? Is when you let the toothpaste out of the tube, it's real hard to go back. We're all either, like you said, I work for FanDuel. And if you don't work for one of the entities, you're being sponsored by one of the entities. I mean, ESPN has their own entire betting thing. So it is a very fine line that we have kind of made for ourselves that I'm not sure because, on the one hand, I think to myself, you know what? Everybody's an adult, live your life, just be responsible. But I realize how unrealistic that is to say out loud. And then when you get into the sort of the integrity of the leagues and the integrity of the sport, look, we're hypocritical. I mean, at the end of the day, it's hard as a league with a straight face to sit there and demand one thing or say one thing. And on the other hand, be like, okay, well, we took $1 gazillion from all of these different companies. I know this. I'm so glad I don't have to make these decisions because I do think that we're really caught in a bizarre vortex right now. And you can forbid players to do a lot of things, but we all know somebody's not going to listen. And that's definitely a chance and a gamble, no pun intended, that you're making with your entire career. And I could see why some of sort of the 12th, 13th, 14th men on a bench or, looking at football or baseball, they don't have as much to lose monetarily in contracts. So it would probably be a little more tempting. I don't know. I think what's interesting, though, is that, in the case of that Terry Rozier, and I will say this was a silver lining, if you wanted to find one, was the idea that the gambling book is who red flagged it. And I thought, okay, so maybe some of those implements that they've made, those instruments that they put in there to sort of self-govern are actually beneficial. I was shocked by that. And I thought that was kind of an interesting part of that story. I don't know, man. You're not stopping gambling. This thing is way down the hill. I don't know.
Well, like, especially like, think about when you were working with the Nets, like you're on the road with them, you're privy to all kinds of information. It was when I was doing PR with the Sixers. And now we didn't have the ability, because I was a straight knucklehead back then. I didn't have the ability to just go on my phone or text somebody, hey, put this bet in. It would have been a whole long chain of events, which I didn't even have the facilities
badly.
To put that together. Yeah. But now it's so easy. I mean, think of all the information you're exposed to when you're embedded in a team like that.
Yeah.
Something is going to have to change, I think, but I guess we'll just have to see how it goes.
I know, I'm with you. It definitely feels like something has to change. I think all of us sort of feel that, but I think it's the question of how you do it it's virtually impossible. I mean, look, Pete, I think this every Super Bowl. I'm like, if I'm singing the national anthem if I'm Chris Stapleton and I know I'm going to go tell my friend to bet $5 million on the over of how long I sing the anthem for, because I'm going to go over. Like I always think that, but at the same time, like I'm also not I'm not a big gambler. I joke about it. Like I play slots in Vegas and I think it's hilarious. But I don't really I can't even use the apps because I'm in California. We don't have access. So there's a part of me, I think that's why I'm so lackadaisical about it. Cause I'm like, well, it doesn't really tempt me. So I don't care as much, but I realize that's not everybody. Some people are very tempted, and that's where you got to figure it out.
All right, I got one more question for you, topical, and then I just got some questions about you because I have you here.
Okay.
Beadle and Decker coming back. Unceremoniously left the airwaves in June. I was like, what the hell happened? Because
same.
Like, how did you guys find out about you were going to be off Sirius, and then how did you put a plan together to say, hey, this show, because you guys had a lot of loyal listeners and people were pissed when that happened.
Look, I got a text the day before from one of the bosses, and it was just simply like, and then it turned into a phone call, and it was simply like, hey, we're going to make some changes to the afternoon lineup, but we really don't have information on who, what, or when, which I thought was weird, but I was like, okay. And the way that conversation was left, it was like, all right, we're just going to figure out another window for you guys, or something like that, because like you said, we actually had built a pretty decent listening base,
Yes.
which I thought was kind of cool, because that channel is, those guys that have been on that channel have been there forever, and their fan base is very loyal, and it's sort of it's an interesting demo. Like, it's not my normal demo necessarily. So I was like, okay. Fast forward to the next morning, and there's a Hollywood Reporter thing out that's like, Stephen A. Smith is taking basically our window. I was livid, as one could imagine. My feelings for that person are not a secret. It really wasn't cool to not give us any kind of a heads up. We were told specifically, like, there would be no press about it, that nobody, and then this guy goes on like a tour and goes on Howard Stern and everything. So I'm just like,
I was listening to Stern in the morning. That's how I found out. I was like, whoa.
Samesies. But the best part, I think, about it, and I don't know if this was ignorance or just like, hey, I don't know, but we then went on the air for the next 2 days. I think it was like a Thursday, Friday, and I thought that was insane. I don't know if anybody's ever been fired before, but like at ESPN, for example, if you decide to leave, whether on your own or you get fired, you're pretty much escorted out immediately. Like, there's no kind of, it's very rare. They put us on the air for 2 more days. I'll say this, like, we could have gone scorched earth. We didn't have to. All we did was open up the phone lines, which we did anyways every single day, Monday through Friday. And the callers just sort of did their thing. And it was one of the most organic, beautiful roasts I've ever been a part of. And I feel very clean. Like, I feel like, oh, I didn't make it dirty and messy. It was just sort of, that's how they felt. We treated it like therapy, and that was it. And as far as what we're doing now, like, I will say this about Cody Decker, man. Look, I got a day job, so I'm just like, all right, things are going to be fine. But Cody, like, this was something that we were building, and we had these intentions of like hopefully doing it for a really long time. He's come back out here to Santa Monica, where his mom lives, and has turned her outdoor like pool house situation into a legitimate studio, like all on his own, built this thing out. We've got a producer in Shane Reardon out of Chicago. We've got his kid, Rocky Carnahan, who's like helping. Nobody's getting paid. None of us are making any money. But we loved the show, and we believed in it so much that we're like, let's just try it. We'll put it on YouTube. We'll put it wherever we can. We'll do an hour a day and see what happens. And so, like, I've never been a part of something where you don't get paid like that, not since my intern days. But I'm proud of it. And so I just feel like, let's see what happens. Worst case, nothing. Best case, something. And that's kind of where we are.
I love it. All right, here's a couple, like, whatever. If you want to call it a speed round, it's kind of lame, but
love this.
All right. Somebody hands you a blank calendar for 2026. What's the first thing you're doing to carve out time to do?
Dang, like on a vacation, you mean?
Yeah. Like, give me a couple things that you're carving out. Like, okay, like, forget about work. I need to do this, this, and this.
Okay, well, I'm going back to Croatia. It's travel. Honestly, it's going to be travel. That's the answer for that. Croatia is one of them because I loved it so much, but there's a long list of places I've never been that I need to hit up, like Japan and Iceland and places like that. So I'm just like, it's travel, 100% easy.
Okay. What's a moment for you where you had kind of a pointed, unpopular opinion at the time? No, hold on. That you look back on now and you're like, I'm very proud of that. Like, in retrospect, it has, again, another lame term, aged very well for you.
I've had a lot. I think I've had a lot of opinions that have not sat necessarily. You know what? I think it was the day on Get Up where I was just over the NFL, and I just said, I'm like, I'm not watching. And I didn't watch it for 3 years, but in a lot of people's eyes, I thought I got blackballed because of that. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't believe I did. But I think that was one that, like, I think the NFL, while I enjoy watching it again, there are a lot of parts of it, especially in that window of like sort of the way women were being treated, whether it be via the players and how that was looked upon, Kaepernick, like there were so many stories at the time that were just distasteful. I stand by that.
What's a hard moment for you that you had on air that you really learned from and you were like, wow, that made me better?
God. Well, I don't know if it made me better, but you ever had, vocal or verbal mishaps are a big one because honestly, it's the brain, and you just, once it's out, it's out. I think those are pretty bad. this is so funny because it goes way back to my Nets days, and Lawrence Frank was the coach. And I remember they were on like pretty bad. They weren't great. It wasn't a good team. And I said something about a collapse. I used the word collapse. To this day, would you know, and it's been almost 20 years, I was reprimanded for using that particular word, collapse. And so now I find myself like,
because you're working for the team.
Yeah, I was like, oh, flinch. But obviously, we use it all the time in sports. And I don't work for a team anymore, so it's a thing. But I'll never forget that feeling of like, good Lord, I think I just said the worst word you could ever say, and it stuck with me for real.
That's how I got to meet you when you were with the Nets. I didn't put your name on the media list, so you would have to come ask me where you were sitting. And then I was like, I'll put you.
Rude.
And then I was like, yeah, okay. I'll say we put you next to Sussman. So we put you right at the scores table next to the bench. It was all good. All right, last question. Social media. What do we do? You're pretty good. Like if I'm calling a game and I'll check afterwards, like, how did I do? Right? It was just stupid. And somebody will say, like, if I get like, who the F is Pete Souza? And that's all, I'm like, well, that's great. I did okay. You're super famous. You get a lot of interaction and you'll weigh in a lot. I'm like, wow, like you go right in there.
Yeah.
Where does that approach come from?
I don't do it like I used to. It used to affect me a lot more. I mean, God, Lee, I think in the days right at the height of Sports Nation, I think it probably bothered me the most because you can get 100 positive. This, you can get 100 positive comments, but the one negative one's the one that kills you. You're like, I will never. I'm going to fight this person. I think now if I engage, it's honestly like I'm either bored or I have time, like I'm waiting for something, an appointment or whatever. And it's all fun and good, right? Because at the end of the day, I think we've all learned none of the bad things that were said 10 years ago affected me. So it's pointless. Like I kind of like the way Durant does it. Like I love
he's awesome.
It's fantastic. Because at the end of it all, who's going to say something about Kevin Durant legitimately as if he's some sort of loser in life? We all know he's not a loser in life. He won life. And so when he engages, you're like, he's just bored and having fun, and he admits it. And so, yeah, it can never actually get you down. I think that I'm also too old now. I mean, look at this age. If something a stranger says bothers me, I got bigger issues. So yeah, I think it's either you do it for fun, like a hobby, or don't do it at all.
Michelle, I still got bigger issues because it still bothers me. All right, Michelle Beadle, you're the best. Check her out. Run it back. Beadle and Decker's coming back. Seriously. You're the best at what you do. Thank you so much for taking time. I know how busy you are.
No, thanks, man. I'm glad we made this work.
Yeah, you got it. Take it easy, Beats. Michelle Beadle, legit one of the best to ever do it. And I always say this, is more sourced up than she lets on, which is super cool because it speaks to her humility. Just a bright light in an industry that can get dark once in a while. We are presented by Slovacek, and we're going to be bright when we come back after this quick break. We actually may not be bright because we got to talk about the Cowboys, and they sucked last night. We'll step aside and be right back on the Pete Souza Show.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage